Hello, and welcome back to Suzerain with the King of Rizia and King Ramis Taurus. In today's episode, first before we go to our meeting, I did notice we now have the more gas pipeline over here. The more gas pipeline, crucial for energy cooperation between Rizia and Morella, facilitates the flow of natural gas and petroleum, boosting energy reserves and solidifying economic links with the southwestern neighbor. And look at that, we're allied and they have a strong military. Everything's going well over here. They're just gonna fix all our other stuff. But Nurse Republic of Derdia, meeting with Grand Wiseman Asmol. Standing on a remote mountain plateau outside of Neil, the Silver Garrison was the headquarters of the Derdian government, as well as the dwelling place of its leader, Supreme Wiseman, Jorga Asmol. For our meeting today, Asmol had granted me the rare permission to enter his inner sanctum. After a lengthy drive up steep, curving roads, our motorcade parked just outside the garrison gates. Titus and I met Sal as we exited our respective vehicles. I confess that I do not know what to expect, Your Majesty. I have studied galcanist compounds like these excessively, but never been allowed inside. The Derdians must be happy that Rizia has adopted a more tolerant stance towards their religion. Yes, we have gone far to appease them, perhaps too far. The heavy gate swung open, and a group of Asmol's guards ushered us inside. The garrison's grounds were much larger than I would have guessed, almost the size of Portugazon's old town. A gleaming silver pillar rose up from the center, surrounded by a cluster of administrative and religious buildings. Greenhouses, storage silos, and living quarters lined the perimeter, separated from the inner circle by a clear natural stream. The first residents we saw were women in identical white dresses, drawing water from the stream and carrying baskets of vegetables to and from the greenhouses. These are seekers, Your Majesty. It is said that through their physical labor, they will gain the mental clarity they need to begin their pursuit of Galconda. May the Lord bless them and guide them on their spiritual journey. It will be a long one. Few women are ever allowed to progress past the seeker role. Yeah. Hey, we're gonna just ignore that. Just ignore it. We've got business to discuss. We're not here to do what's right. As the guards led us closer to the pillar, the sound of men's voices could be heard. Short, sharp shouts emitted in perfect unison. The disciples, they practiced purification of the spirit through strict martial arts regiments. I know a few Pelesians whose spirit they could purify. Derdia's feigned mercenaries are indeed disciples. If undertaken in the service of a cause they align with, their work counts as progress towards their spiritual ascendance. Interesting. We emerged into the center of the garrison. In front of the pillar was a training ground the size of a football field, flanked on either side by white marble temples. On it, some 40 men were engaged in combat drills. Titus watched in open admiration as they executed a complex choreography of strikes, blocks, and counterattacks, each punctuated by a forceful cry. A gong chimed in the distance. Almost instantly, the disciples spread out to form a perfect circle around us. Jorga Asmol, dressed in the same robes I'd seen him wear in the Alliance of Nations, stepped out from their midst. Welcome to the Silver Garrison, Your Majesty. I am humbled to be here, Mr. Asmol. You should be, Your Majesty. With a smile, he turned to Sal. A pleasure to finally meet you, O Grand Wiseman. Likewise, Supreme Wiseman. Will your disciples be treating us to the prayer ceremony? For this special occasion, I had something different in mind. A traditional Derdian duel of generosity. Sal's face turned white. I know better to engage galcanists in a duel, Mr. Supreme Wiseman. I have read of this ceremony, Your Majesty. It is a polite show of skill, not an all-out fight. Correct, Grand Wiseman. No weapons, no bloodshed. Each leader represented by a champion of his choosing. He spread his arms wide. Talem Ashari, Zirak, Nalin. The circle of men flattened out into a long line. Asmol slowly walked from one end to the other, then back to the middle. He stood in front of a particularly tall, well-built disciple and bowed. The man took a step forward and returned the gesture. I will be represented by Lauren. His participation in the duel shall be his final challenge, nor his ascension to the rank of adept. The rest of the disciples applauded. Sal politely followed suit. Asmol turned towards Titus, my bodyguard tense up instinctively. Captain Gordian, I have heard tales of your fighting prowess, both before and after you began service of the king. Am I right to assume that you have brought this man as your champion, your majesty? No, let's go. My character is a military man. He fought in the military. He might not be the best hand-to-hand combat, but it sounds fun. So let's do it. No, I will serve as my own champion. Everyone was silent for a second. A brave proposition. Your Majesty, this man looks like trouble, even for me. I've got to respect my hosts, right? What could be more respectful than stepping into the ring myself? If you insist, sir, I will be standing at the ready in case you need help. This is highly unorthodox, your majesty, but of course so is most of Galcanism. Asmol cleared his throat, and we and the disciples stopped speaking. As his majesty has declared, so it will be. The king of Rizia will duel against my champion. Each fighter will now have 5 minutes to prepare. Lauren nodded his assent and walked away. He knelt on a patch of grass and raised his arm skyward in prayer, his face a mask of concentration. I performed some stretches and punched the air a few times. It felt good to move after a morning cooped up in the motorcade. A short while later, another gong sounded. The disciples formed a tight circle around me, and the man Jorga Asmol had called Lauren. The Supreme Wiseman stepped between us. The duel will last 10 minutes, or until one opponent acknowledges the other's superior skill in combat. Should a fighter draw blood, the duel will be called off immediately, its results void before the Lord. You will bow to one another, and the duel will commence. He stepped back into the circle. He and the disciples began a slow, deep-voiced chant in Derdian, as Lauren and I bowed to each other. The moment we began sparring, it was obvious I was outmatched. Lauren moved with a fluid unpredictability. His blows seemed to come out of nowhere, but landed with tactical precision. The hand-to-hand combat training I'd received in the military was useless against his technique. Yet somehow, miraculously, I was holding my own against the Derdian fighter. I threw a jab with my left hand at his shoulder, and he staggered backwards, slightly, with a smile. I didn't say anything. We continued sparring, Lauren mostly dodging my blows with ease, but occasionally allowing one or two to land. Stop holding back. Show me how a real disciple fights. Lauren smiled uncomfortably. He stepped back and performed a flashy spin kick that missed my fate by just a few centimeters. The 10 minutes were almost up. My opponent turned his back briefly to prepare his next move. While his back was still turned, I threw my most forceful punch yet. He took it on the ribcage with grace and allowed himself to collapse to the ground, holding up both hands in a sign of concession. The Lord has blessed us with a beautiful fight. Very well done, your majesty. Lauren, you may not have won, but you are still my champion. You will make a fine adept. He took his disciple's hands and kissed him tenderly on the lips. The surrounding crowd erupted into cheers. Woo! Weird then. Titus looked around uneasily. Is that normal here? Unfortunately, Captain Gordian, it is. Sal grimaces. Saint Warwick would despair at what they have done to his sacred teachings. Do you not agree, your majesty? Oh, God. There's something beautiful about it. Perhaps you're right. It is like watching two giraffes next entwine in the royal zoo. What does that mean? I don't know if that's a I don't know if that's a positive or negative reaction even. Like, 2 giraffes' necks intertwine in the royal zoo. Okay, whatever. Moving on, I guess. We turned our attention back to Asmol. The disciples had begun to disperse. An auspicious start to our meeting. This way, please. Titus stood outside as Sal and I followed the Supreme Wiseman through a door at the base of the pillar. A staircase led down to a softly lit room, its walls lined floor to ceiling with bookshelves. There were no tables or chairs, just a number of comfortable-looking cushions on the carpeted floor. Asmol gestured for us to sit. This is the very heart of the Garrison, Your Majesty. I never make a political decision without consulting the teachings of Saint Warwick. Warwick's writings have indeed kept their relevance, even in our present day. He peered at me closely. Are there any of his tracts that you find particularly useful? Right now I'm finding solace in Armaments of Faith, a treatise on battle preparedness. Ah, yes, an excellent choice for your current situation. You must also have been influenced by On the Embrace of Divine Differences when you removed your predecessor's nonsensical blasphemy law. It was the Lord himself who came to me in a vision and told me to make that decree. He guided you well, Your Majesty. I would say that I do not approve of your participation in the persecution of Gulcanist brethren Wellen. We may not agree on everything, but nonetheless I see fertile grounds for cooperation, where previously there was barrenness. You have come here because you want something. What is it? The PM of Morella has asked me to speak to you regarding Derdia's violation of our country's borders. That which has you doing her bidding? Tell me, what has Sultana done to deserve my goodwill? Remember the words of Saint Warwick. The light of compassion can illuminate even those who walk in the darkest of shadows. Yes, that is so. He sat back on his cushion for a moment. I was wary of you after your words at the Alliance of Nations, but your actions on behalf of Gulcanists have spoken volumes. Tell Miss Sultana I will talk to her, but only if the King of Rizia is present act as an intermediary. Yes! Yes! With the Lord on our side, we convince her to aid your people in their holy travels. Haleta, if it is said, so it will be. Is there anything else you would ask of me? We are at war, Supreme Wiseman. I would humbly call upon your great warrior culture for assistance. He appeared flattered. We are happy to help our brethren. We are willing to sell you our latest missile system. Even the lesbians will have trouble competing with it. Interesting. Missiles could be nice. I could use some missiles, but I could also use some men. Both could be very useful, to be honest. What do I want? Do I want missiles or do I want men? That is the question. Because I'm struggling to deal with their anti-air artillery anyways. Yeah, I was thinking something with a little more finesse. In that case, Your Majesty, what you need is human power. Derdian mercenaries have helped win wars since the days of the Empire Meridia. You saw my disciples earlier. Imagine a larder team, just as trained, wielding sophisticated weaponry and stealth technology. In case of emergency, a surge of Derdian mercenaries could certainly be of service. As long as there is a way to rein them in. Okay, we have a long war to fight. We will purchase both your missiles and service mercenaries. I have no need for mercenaries, but I will gladly purchase your missiles. My kingdom does not require a missile system, but we will hire mercenaries. Remind us of Rizia's war to fight. I might just get both. Because I want to win this war and as fast as possible. Yeah, let's do it. We will purchase both your missiles and the service of your mercenaries. We will help you fight with honor, your majesty. Is there anything else you would ask of me? I wish to strengthen the ties between our two nations. Asmol's eyes lit up. I would welcome the chance for Derdia to grow closer to our Rizian brothers. In fact, I was hoping to speak with you about an energy partnership. I hear you have sold oil and gas to other Mercopan countries. Perhaps you would be willing to ship it to us across the Gulf of Meridia. We are at war. Our ships could get targeted. The Gulf is far north of your front, is it not? Shipping has not been disrupted so far. Think about it. Once your Zeal harbor is recovered, the distance between our ports will be practically nothing. -2 energy, +2 budget. Yeah, let's... Alright, an energy agreement it is. Let's get some extra money. Money, 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 yo! Thank you, your majesty. Our great nourished republic will endeavor to support you diplomatically as well. May Saint work bless our bond. From now through eternity. That will be all for today. The Lord will smile on what we have accomplished today. Let us hope so. We stood and made our way back up the stairs. The sun was still shining brightly as we emerged from the base of the pillar. Outside, Titus was sitting by himself, his eyes on the group of disciples exercising some distant away. On seeing me, he rose and snapped to attention. Your Majesty, shall we go? No rush, we are among friends. Asmol reached out his hands to me. You are welcome back to the garrison any time, your Majesty. And you are welcome at Palace Resna, once my country is again at peace. The sound of sung hymn and clashing swords accompanied us as we made our way out of the compound. My dealings with Derdia were far from over, but I wondered if I would ever see the Silver Garrison again. Hey, things went extremely well. We've got people coming in. Oh yeah, we got missiles, we got religious mercenaries, we got a trade deal with Derdia. Look at we're getting +6 budget per turn right now. That's so good. Next turn, we're gonna have a lot of money in reserve. Promised missiles shipped to Rizia. Derdian military naval vessels have started escorting ships carrying the Promised missile systems to Rizia. The missiles are being shipped from Derdian harbor of Yol and will arrive in Rizia in the days to come. Derdian military engineers have also been dispatched in order to help their Rizian counterparts with setting up the systems. Derdia and Rizia agreed to increase energy trade. Following negotiations with the Derdian capital, Rizia has agreed to provide Derdia with a steady supply of energy. To achieve this, shipping will increase across the Gulf of Meridia, with Rizia to aid Derdia in building the necessary facilities in their port of Yol to be able to receive the precious resource. Short and medium-range ballistic missiles. The integration of Derdian ballistic missiles significantly bolsters the Rizia's airstrike capabilities on the battlefield. These short and medium-range missiles enhance Rizia's offensive strategies, providing a formidable deterrent against potential aggressors. The incorporation of these missiles into Rizia's armed forces expanded the strike capabilities beyond the front line. Derdian religious mercenaries. The enlistment of Derdian religious mercenaries adds additional complexities to Rizia's military ranks, contributing to complex doctrinal dynamic on the battlefield. Their integration is augmenting the asymmetrical warfare capabilities while navigating the difficulty conditions on the battlefield. Trade deal with Derdia. Rizia's trade agreement with Derdia emphasizes energy collaboration, sets the stage for broadening economic ties. The agreement includes initiatives to expand market access, fostering mutual beneficial economic relations. And Rizia and Derdia, unlikely partners? Following the Rizian king's visit to Derdia, where he met Derdian Supreme Wiseman Asmol at the Silver Garrison, rumors have arisen of the potential partnership between the two countries. The internationally isolated Derdia seems ready to jump at any possibility of new partners to pull their country back onto the world stage, something Rizia could provide, although undoubtedly the Golden Kingdom would want things in return. A potential partnership between the countries could worry several others in the area, most notably Morella and Pales. And then there's ideological differences. While both countries might be rooted in tradition, these traditions vary greatly and could provide major obstacles. Very true, but I think we're working it out. Requested meeting with Uncle Hugo. My shoes echoed on stone as I walked down the palace corridor to Hugo's study. My uncle had invited me for a one-on-one talk, and though I had plenty on my mind, I could hardly decline. Titus remained on guard outside as I pushed open the door and stepped inside. I cast my eye over the filigreed mahogany desk, the antique cabinets, and the tasteful paintings and sculptures lining the walls. A fire flickered in the fireplace. 2 leather armchairs had been set out in front of it, one empty, the other accompanied by Hugo. My uncle rose and bowed upon my approach. Your Majesty, thank you for joining me this evening. Come off it, Hugo. It's just the two of us. Talk to me as an equal. As you prefer, Maramis. He beckoned me over, and we both sat. Tell me, my nephew, how much thought have you given to the future of House Torres? This family means everything to me. You should know that by now. I should, and yet... Our family's roots can be traced all the way back to the Resonant Empire. We have survived war, conflicts, and numerous challenges thrown to be where we are today. We picked up a poker and jostled the logs of the fireplace. A shower of sparks flew upwards. I brought you here to give you a warning. Certain members of our house have begun to speak ill of you. Surely they realize the extenuous circumstances I'm facing. Extenuous circumstances do not explain all of your policies. Your permissive attitude towards foreigners has left native Rizians questioning their place in the new order. I can't even think about appeasing House Taurus until we win this war. I would advise a different approach. If our house does not support you within Rizia, they will not support you on the battlefield. And well, I am loath to remind you, but there are those in House Taurus who believe my brother, and hence you, should have been removed from the royal line of succession after introducing commoner blood. Your actions as king have unfortunately poured fuel on those flames. Then what do you suggest I do? I can't backtrack on my decisions, but you can make wiser ones in the future. I have not even mentioned our house grave is concerned. Suzerain. He spoke the name like a curse word. Suzerain. I am certain you have good intentions in allowing to dishonor to court Vina, but I will tell you this. If you permit Her Highness to marry this man, your grip on the throne will weaken to the point where I cannot recover it. They are in love, I can't deny them that. You truly are your father's son. You needed to allow your reign to be undone by a pair of starry-eyed youths. There are actions that can be taken. Actions? That sounds like a euphemism if I ever heard one. You're right. I should speak to you as an adult. He's an ambitious young man. There must be something he wants more than the princess. And if the carrot doesn't work, there's always the stick. I like carrots. They're full of vitamins. By all means, make him an offer. However, this doesn't solve the problem if you and the princess should wed. You've got enough to worry about trust me, I will handle this. Of course, your majesty. I should stop harping on about this. The war deserves your full attention. Indeed it does. I should be going now. We rose from our chairs. The fire began to flicker out as Hugo ushered me out of the door. Titus shadowed me down the hall as I made my way back towards my quarters. On the way there, we passed my study door. After telling Titus to wait outside, I walked into the study and picked up the phone. I asked the palace operator to give me a private line to Mana Suzerain. After a few rings, he answered. Your Majesty, to what do I owe you the pleasure? No, I don't want to do it like that. I'm gonna load last checkpoint. Because I don't want to actually send him away or anything. I actually was kind of hoping I could say something other than those. But I'm gonna go with something else. And I'm just gonna real quickly make the same decisions again and go through it real quick. But yeah. I don't like those options, so I am not doing that call. Simple as that. So, yeah. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boy, bad boy. I don't know. Talk to me as an equal. Family means everything to me. Exterminated situations. I need to win the war. Can't backtrack on my decisions. They are in love. Sounds like a euphemism. I like carrots. We've got enough to worry about. Giving me a lot to think about. I should get going now. Okay. I'm gonna just come in for a second, Titus. I want to speak to you privately. Certainly, Your Majesty. Titus and I entered the study. I shut the door behind us. What is it? How are you? I am well, Your Majesty. The war has been weighing on my mind, as I'm sure it has yours. You have no idea. You bear an unimaginable amount of responsibility. I do not envy you. What was that all you wanted to ask me? Yes, you may escort me back to my chambers now. With pleasure. Titus and I left the study and walked back to my chambers. My guard wished me good night before taking up his usual post outside my door. As I climbed to bed, I thought about my conversation with my uncle. Who would carry on my name, and what would my legacy be? I can't do it. I can't break up a relationship. That's just not me as a person. And I also made a promise. Average living standards. While aristocracy enjoys opulence, the average Rizian leads a moderate life. The majority of citizens have access to basic amenities, education, and healthcare. Yet luxuries remain out of reach for many, painting a picture of middling prosperity. That's honestly fine. I'll take middling prosperity. Oh yeah, Operation Golden Shield Phase 2 is ready. Alright, but we'll continue on in the next episode. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell button. And as always, peace.